What's up, guys? Welcome back to our channel. I have been doing a lot of videos with Ryder about like different activities we've been doing since we've been on quarantining ourselves, as you guys all should be doing by practicing social distancing and staying home. This video is a little different. I've had a couple people ask me to do like a story time video about certain things like co-parenting, how I found out I was pregnant, my pregnancy story, labor and delivery. I've even had someone ask me to do like a meet our family because there are so many of us, and I actually kind of like that idea just because I come from a blended family, so I thought it would be kind of cool to do a video about that. This one is going to be about my pregnancy and how I found out I was pregnant. We all know how I got pregnant, so we don't need to go there. But if you don't know the story, then I guess it'll be interesting to hear, maybe relatable. But if you have, then you don't have to listen to it again, clearly. So yeah. Okay. So a little bit of the backstory. I did Are You the One season 3. It was still fairly new. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had never watched the show prior to even getting on the show. A lot of people ask me how I got on the show. That's a really long story for another video. But I ended up on the show. I had a ball doing the show. I had so much fun doing Are You the One. I never thought in my life I would ever be on reality TV. I've never dreamed to be on reality TV. This was nothing I've even thought about, honestly. It just kind of happened. So after I did Are You the One, I kept hearing people talk about the challenge on Are You the One. I didn't know what the challenge was. I'd never watched it either. And around the same time that people were getting calls to do the challenge, and this is when the challenge was first starting to bring on people from Are You the One. It was the first season for that. I'm like, there's no way in hell they're gonna call me. I'm not athletic. I don't appear to be athletic. I don't pretend to work out. Like, I just didn't think about it at all. When I got the call to do it, I was surprised and said yes. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I started to try to work out. I took like some exercise classes. I did what I could in the time span that I had. And yeah, so I did the challenge, as you guys, well, most of you guys know. And I met Corey on the challenge. And the first time we met, well, we were both at the airport together, didn't say one word to each other, didn't even look at each other, like nothing. We probably did like a few, like maybe a week or two in the house, walked right past each other, no eye contact, nothing. I was already pre-warned about him. It was like he was walking around with a big old X on his head, and it was like, stay away from him, he's a player, he looks up to everybody, all these things. I'm like, alright. Of course we all know Corey's attractive, but that's all I knew about him. So I did the challenge. That's how we met. I ended up getting kicked off the show. I ended up coming back on the show. Then we actually became friends on the show and had a showmance. And I ended up making it to a final. He got booted off during the middle of filming. So that was our show story, a short version. And when I got home, I ended up meeting this guy. I would say we were dating. I don't know if you would say that we were dating, but in my head we were dating. We would go on dates. He would come to my parents' house. We would hang out all the time. So in my head we were dating, but whatever. Corey and I were still friends after the show. We lived fairly close to each other, so we would hang out from time to time, but it was nothing serious. We kind of had a conversation when we got back from the show, like, you know, I know you want to do you, I want to do me. Like, we still flirted and hung out maybe a few times. I don't even remember how many times, but it was not like a serious thing at all. And we were getting ready to do the reunion. So this is where I say Corey jinxed us. He came to my mom's house. We're hanging out in the backyard. He takes a picture of my stomach. Mind you, I'm pushing my stomach out. Hopefully I can find this picture so I can put it in this vlog. But he takes a picture of my stomach and pretends and posts something like we have an announcement at the reunion or something, basically alluding to the fact that I'm pregnant. At this point, I'm not pregnant at all. The picture went crazy. I begged him, screamed at him to take it down because I'm like, whoa, people are thinking I'm pregnant. Like, I don't even want to put that on the world. So he took the picture down. We didn't think anything of it. We go to do the reunion out in New York, where it's like, you know, I don't even know how to like explain it, like high and heavy for each other. I think we were just both two hornballs at the time. And yeah, I'll include some pictures from the reunion. You can see it was a lusty event. As most of you guys know, Ryder was made at that reunion, that same day that we shot the reunion. When Corey and I did have sex, this is no offense to him, so y'all don't even do this. It was quick. It was so quick. Just thinking about it, I'm like, how do we have Ryder? No idea. Whatever. Fastest sex I've probably ever had in my life. Turned out I got a baby out of it, but you know, God is good. So we had sex in the reunion. I came back home. We're not hanging out, like we don't really hang out. I was hanging out with the guy that I had been hanging out with for a while, and that was that. I went on with my life, he went on with his life. I would definitely say I was kind of on a high from just doing RU1 and then going right into doing the challenge. My head was big. I was doing things that I look back on and I'm like, you were moving really fast. You were moving fast, you were acting fast, you were doing things that got you the situation that you're in. And I was young. I was 23. I graduated college. I got my degree. I thought I was hot shit, so you know, we all live and learn, whatever. So I had gone out with some friends. We went drinking, and I like took a shot, or maybe it was just like a drink. I just remember I had one drink. I immediately felt sick. I run to the bathroom, I throw up. I'm in the bathroom pep talking myself. Cheyenne, you can hold your liquor. What are you doing? Why are you throwing up? But nothing in my head was like, you're pregnant. I've taken birth control since college religiously. I'm the best pill taker ever. So at the time, I never even thought like, oh, you could be pregnant. You know, now I sound stupid, but whatever, I'm just being honest. It never crossed my head. I literally went out, got another shot, took it, and was like, okay. And then 30 minutes later threw up again. And I'm like, maybe I have food poisoning. I don't know. It was, my body was off. And now when I look back, I'm like, okay, you were pregnant, and that you don't drink alcohol when you're pregnant, you get sick. Like, come on. But at the time, I didn't know. I wasn't thinking about it. Maybe a few more weeks go on. I never felt nauseous in the morning, nothing. I was really, really tired. I remember being really tired because I was working for my parents at their office. They have a couch in the back, and I would be knocked out on the couch. My sister would be trying to wake me up, screaming at me about how we have customers, how I need to go help. And I was just like, I'm so tired. I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm just exhausted. Didn't ever think at that point, oh, you must be pregnant. It wasn't until I had to keep going to the bathroom. I was peeing so much. Never thought still at this point, let's put all these signs together. You're pregnant. I was like, I must have a bladder infection, UTI. My mom was like, oh, you can go to this little urgent care center, go get tested, see if you have a UTI or bladder infection, and so you can like feel better. Because I'm like, I knew that something was not right, but I just never thought like I would be pregnant. So I go to the urgent care center. The guy, I do all the tests or whatever. The doctor comes in. He's like, Miss Floyd, you don't have a UTI. Your bladder's fine. Like, there's nothing going on. I'm literally packing my bag. Like, all right, I'd already have plans to go out with my friends that night to go probably to a happy hour. I'm literally packing my bag up, open the door, I'm in the hallway of the urgent care center, just about to make the next turn to leave, and he goes, but wait, how are your prenatals? What? I literally stopped and was like, huh? Like, are you talking to me? He's like, yeah, how are your prenatals going? I'm like, what are you even talking about? I swear I think I asked him, like, what is that? Even though I know what a prenatal is, how do you spell that? Like, my mind just was like, huh? I'm like, no prenatals over here. He's like, what, you're pregnant? I said, no, I'm not. He goes, yeah, you're definitely pregnant. Your test showed that you're pregnant. You're like far in your, like, not far in your pregnancy, but you've been pregnant for some time. You didn't know? I'm like, no, I must be a different person. He's like, let me go get the nurse. The nurse comes in, she's like, yeah, you peed in a cup, we tested it, you're pregnant. I said, I don't believe you guys, this is a setup, am I getting punked? This is a lie, let me see the test. She brings in the first test. By the end of my visit, I walked away with 13 pregnancy tests. I had them do it 13 times. I was so confused and in such a state of shock that I literally, and I have them all. They're on my mom's house in this drawer that she keeps all my weird things. And literally there's 13 pregnancy tests in the bag. After 13 tests, I'm like, I still don't believe you guys. I don't understand. I take my pill. So the doctor was like, have you been on any antibiotics lately? And I'm like, thinking back. I'm like, yeah, I was. He's like, antibiotics cancels out your birth control. So I'm like, okay, oh shit, what do I do? I'm in a state of shock. I call my sister, who mind you at the time is getting a haircut. This is when she had a fade. She's at the barber shop. I say, where are you? She's like, I'm at the barber shop. I'm like, I'm on my way. These doctors are trying to tell me that I'm pregnant. She's like, well, then that means you're pregnant. I'm like, no, you don't understand. They're trying to tell me that I'm pregnant. Like, do you not hear what I'm saying? She's like, come here. So I go to the barbershop. I don't even think I've cried yet. I think I'm just in shock. I walk over to the chair and I'm like, get up, get up. We go to the bathroom. I'm like, what the fuck? They're trying to tell me I'm pregnant. I don't understand. And I just start sobbing in the barbershop bathroom. Mind you, the barbershop is full of all these guys. My sister's the only one getting her haircut there is a female. And then I come in and cry in their bathroom about doctors telling me I'm pregnant, because in my head this is all a lie. So I'm like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? She's like, well, we have to call mom. Like, what else can we do? And I didn't know how far along I was. So I'm like, okay, shit. So we call my mom, who, mind you, is at a hospital because my stepdad was getting either a hip replacement or a knee surgery that day. So I call her, we pull up to the front of the hospital. I'm sobbing, I'm freaking out. She comes running out, and I'm like, you have to leave, David. You have to come and be with me. The doctors are trying to tell me I'm pregnant. So this is where my imagination in my head just takes over things, because I watched that show where it's like you didn't know you were pregnant, and then they have like babies in the bathtub, or like on the toilet, or like randomly at work your water breaks and they have a baby like in the back of like Adidas or something. So in my head, I have now been pregnant forever, and at any moment I can give birth to this baby. Like, that's all I kept thinking. So we sat outside the hospital that my stepdad was getting surgery at for probably about 2 hours, and on this bench, and I can picture it so clearly, I'm just crying, and I'm trying to go back into my little stupid brain and think, shit, this baby has a dad. Who is it? How far am I? When did I have sex? When did I have unprotected sex? And I was just so confused. So after about 2 hours of looking up where to go get an ultrasound, finally, the three of us, my mother, my sister, and I, Kyle's brain clicked and said, guys, we're sitting in front of a hospital. Cheyenne, walk inside of emergency and ask them to do an ultrasound. I'm like, why didn't we think about this 2 hours ago? But whatever. We go, we do the ultrasound. My mom goes and checks on Dave, and that is the beginning to my pregnancy journey. I think at the time I was between 9 and 10 weeks, and I'm sitting there on my calendar as the lady's doing it, and I'm like, where was I? How does this work? Like, what is the time span? Like, I was just so frustrated with the fact that, like, this even happened, and that I know I had been moving fast and doing fast things, and that it was just like way too much all at one time. So I remember my mom saying to my sister, like, so what do you think she's gonna do? And Kyle was like, I'm an aunt. Like, Cheyenne's having a baby. Little background, I went to a super strict Christian high school. They used to call me a Bible thumper. I would literally carry around a Bible in my backpack, and I loved it. I did missions trips. I was a part of Bible study. I was a part of girls Bible study. I was all for it. When I went to college, of course, like everyone else probably, you have a wowed out moment. And then when I was doing these shows, I kind of lost track of like my faith, and I was doing things that I'm not proud of. So, but I always go back to my faith and rely on that. So when I found out I was pregnant, I never once thought, oh, I'm gonna get an abortion. It never even crossed my mind. It was just, okay, I'm having a baby, and whether I'm having a baby by myself and I'll be a single mom, or if I'm gonna have a baby and have this child have a father in their life, it was this, I accepted all options of how the story would play out, but I knew at the end of the day I was having the baby. It was never like a let's play pros and cons. It was just an immediate, fuck, I'm having a baby, like that. And looking back, I didn't ever take time to really think it out. It was just more of, I remember telling my mom, like, I'm gonna have the baby, and I want to be able to stay home the first like 1 to 2 years to take care of them, and like I need support. And she asked me who the dad is, and that's when the messiness started. So when I went back to my beautiful calendar, I had slept with my guy that in my head I was dating. If you probably ask him now, he probably will say that we were just not dating, but whatever. The guy I was dating that was from LA, we had slept together, and then when I went to do the reunion, that was about a week or 2 weeks later, and I had slept with Corey. Now, the person who was in LA, we always use protection, except one time, one drunk night. Always other times we used it. And it was around that same time zone. With Corey, that was just the drunkest 3 seconds of my life, so we didn't use protection there. And I automatically thought, okay, it has to be the guy from LA, because we had consistent sex. And with Corey, we had sex one time and it lasted for 2 seconds, and I'm like, did you finish? Like, this is probably way too much information for you guys, but in my head I'm like, there's no way. Like, I don't even remember. I just remember, I don't know, it was just, I never was like, no, this is Corey's baby. I was just like, ooh, I don't know. I was stuck in such like a weird zone of like, I don't know. And I wanted to scream at everyone, I don't know. But I couldn't, because I could barely even process what was going on. So I had to tell my family, my extended family, that I was having a baby, and had to come up with like a way to say I'm having a baby, don't know who the dad is, like it was very awkward. And my mom was very defensive over me, and very protective over me, because she knew that I was going through such a hard time. Of course, this is not how I ever imagined getting pregnant, or not knowing, or just how everything played out. This was never, to me, this was just an impossible thing. So it was really hard to deal with, and I went into like a weird depression, and it took a lot out of me, mentally and physically. I just was just out of it, and I was just so upset with myself and what I had done, that it wasn't like a happy time. The people around me were happy for me and tried to constantly like lift my spirits, but I really felt really bad during a time where you should feel really happy. But I think it was the unknown and the shame and the guilt and feeling like no one else in the world, like no one else has gone through this. When I know that that's not true, but when people hear me say, like my family, and they had to hear me say it, it just became so real, and I just wanted to like crawl into a hole. And I didn't want to talk about it. When I told people on social media that I was pregnant, of course, I got so many comments of who's the dad, who's the dad, who's the dad, and people tagging people like Justin Combs, who's one of my friends. People tagged Corey. People tagged some random football player that I'd never even met. Like, I had so many messages, so many comments of who the dad is, and I was just reading them, and every time I would just break down because I wanted to be able to say so-and-so or so-and-so, but I was like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know, so I cannot point the finger at A or B. Like, I just couldn't do it. But I did tell them. I told the guy from LA that I was pregnant, and I told Corey that I was pregnant. The guy from LA immediately was like, don't care, don't want to know, I'm out. He came to my mom's house one time in the beginning and tried to like convince me to go get an abortion. I'll take you, I'll pay for it, I'll do this, I'll be there for you after. And I explained to him, I'm okay, I'm gonna handle this on my own. Keep you posted if you want. He basically told me to go jump off a bridge and die, so that was the end of that conversation. When I told Corey that I was expecting, he immediately asked, is the baby his? And I told him, I don't know. Because at the time I didn't know. I explained to him that there's a chance, but I just kept relying on the fact that in my head I was saying like, there's no way. Like, what we did was so quick. It doesn't take that much time to make a baby, apparently. So in my head, I'm like, no. And I would tell him, like, there's no way. Like, I just don't understand how you could be the dad. But there is a chance because you're on the timeline of, you know, when the baby was conceived. I think once he heard me say, like, I don't think the baby's yours, he just kind of stuck with that. And since I didn't know, I didn't press the issue with A or B. I kind of said to myself, okay, you've made this decision to keep the baby on your own. You didn't seek advice from A or B, so you have to handle this on your own, and you can't point the finger at either one because you don't know. And that was really, really hard. I wanted to scream to the rooftop who Ryder's dad was, but I couldn't, and I couldn't point my finger at anyone but myself. And Corey had left to go film for the challenge, and I remember Mitch, who I knew was his cousin, reached out to me and had said, Corey told me you were pregnant and I just wanted to check in on you. He had called home and asked about you. So I'm like, okay, I have option A, who I thought we were dating and you really liked me, yet you told me to go and kill myself when you found out I was going to keep the baby. And I have option B, where we're friends and I really don't think that you're her dad, but you're calling to check on me. It was just really, really confusing. It was really confusing, and it was a really hard time. And if you probably would have asked me to tell this story a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I would be sobbing right now. I've just told it so many times now that I've just accepted it. I've had a ton of females reach out and ask me how I got through it, because it is a situation that has happened to other people. Trust me, I'm not the only person in the world who's ever gotten pregnant and didn't know who the dad was. And that doesn't, it sounds slutty and it sounds bad, and so be it with how it sounds, but it happens. And it's not like I had a long list of perspectives or prospects. It was, you know, with time, it was 2 people, and no, that doesn't sound good either, but I was young and I was dumb and I was doing too much. So my pregnancy was hard, and everyone always asks, like, how'd you do it alone? And I don't hate to say I did it alone, because I have a big family. I have a lot of support. But when you're pregnant and you're by yourself and you already have so many unknown things or unknown questions that you just can't answer, you can be in a room full of people and still feel alone, and still feel like nobody in this room understands what you're going through. And everyone can try to relate, and everyone can say how beautiful this process is, or how much this is a blessing, or how we're gonna come out on top of this, and you know, all these encouraging things. And of course it felt good to hear, and it felt good to know that my family was supportive, but I've never felt so alone than when I was pregnant. It was really, really tough, and my parents were constantly checking on me because they really thought that I was in a state of depression. And looking back, I definitely was. I tried to find positivity in it, and eventually I did. And I just always knew that I loved the baby from the beginning, and that no matter what, I just knew that I had to protect the baby, and I was gonna do that at all costs. So what I started to do was write letters. So you can probably hear Ryder screaming at everybody out there. I wrote letters to Ryder. At the time, I didn't know who I was writing letters to. I knew I was writing letters to a baby, but I wanted the baby to know where my head was at, and to be able to one day answer questions that I didn't really have answers to at the time. So I just began to write how I felt, and that was the way that I got over being mad at myself and being like upset with everything. When I would write the letters, it kind of made me feel okay. I felt okay, and I wasn't thinking about how ashamed I was. I wasn't thinking about who her dad was. All I was thinking about was the baby, and how much I loved this child that's growing in me, that I've never met, that I, you know, was causing all these different feelings in my life. But when I would write her letters, it just took all that away. And I did that throughout my whole pregnancy. And I think it saved me. And every now and then I go back and look at them on my phone when I'm having a rough day, or when Ryder's just off the wall and I'm just feeling really, really low, or need to pick me up. I go back and I read them, and I'm like, okay, you're fine, you got this. And yeah, let me see if I can find one. I'll give you guys an example. And in my head, the letters were intended to be something for Ryder to look at when she was older, and if I didn't have answers and she wanted to know, what were you thinking? This was like my way of saying, like, you can read it. Like, this is exactly what I was thinking. Dear Ryder, one day when you're older, I will give you these letters and hope you can feel how loved you are through reading them. It's October 26, 2016 at 2 p.m. and I'm currently 24 years old. My birthday recently passed a few days ago, and we found out that you were a girl. It has been the best day of my life thus far. I need you to know that you are the best thing that's ever happened to me. I never questioned you. You chose me, and I chose you. You're only 17 weeks and 1 day. I can feel you going inside me, and my love for you grows more and more every day. I can't explain that I'm happy, but I am ready for you. And although you were a surprise, you have been loved from the beginning. You will be surrounded by love. You will be raised in love. So many people have already shown how much they love you and I, and cannot wait for your arrival. Your grandparents and your godparents have been there for me and have been nothing but supportive. I'm recreating my world for you the best that I can, and I'm trying. I've been so blessed and lived a wonderful life. I graduated college, I've traveled the world, I've even done a reality show or two. You would never be allowed to watch them. I wrote a book, and now I have you. You are my new world, my love, and you give me a new purpose. You have a lot of questions, and I will be ready to answer all of them. And one day, I hope you understand that what I did was best for me, and that was keeping you. I believe that God has a plan for us. You are my biggest blessing, my greatest accomplishment, and I love you more than life itself. Your mom. So those are the kind of letters that I wrote to Ryder throughout my pregnancy. Here's a shorter one. Dear Ryder, some nights I cry and I don't know why I'm crying. Maybe because I'm scared, or maybe because I'm alone, or it might be both. I feel alone at night, and when everyone has gone to sleep or is off with their others, my head starts to turn and I begin to hurt. I begin to doubt myself. Am I going to be a good mother? And I'm going to be able to provide for us? Will you look up to me? Will you hate me for bringing you into this world? There are so many questions that run in my head. Yet I feel you kicking and I hear your heartbeat, and for some reason I know we will be okay. We will be okay, and I promise I will do everything in my power to make sure you never feel as alone as I do in this moment. November 13th, 2016, 4:03 a.m. So I have a ton of these letters, and I'll probably print them out and put them in a book or something for Rye if she ever wanted to go back and reflect and hopefully learn from some of the hard lessons that I had to learn. So back to the story. I did my pregnancy by myself. I, at the end of it, was so in love with this child that I didn't care. And I know that sounds really bad to say, but of course I'm gonna cry. I didn't care who her dad was because I just loved her. And I had beat myself up for months and months about the situation, and at one point there was just nothing else that I could do, and I just released it, and I finally enjoyed being pregnant. And I think that it was around the same time that I started to have complications. Is when I was like, I have to put this whole dad thing behind me and focus on keeping this baby alive. When I was in my 20 weeks, I went in for a normal ultrasound, and then they said that Ryder might have a brain tumor. So I had to go to the doctor every week to start getting these ultrasounds and all these tests done. And it was driving me nuts, and my mom didn't let me tell anybody because she didn't want anybody to put any like bad energy out, or we didn't want to talk about it because we didn't want to make it, speak it into existence, and I couldn't even say it out loud. I'm just like, after all of this, and then she has a brain tumor, it was just too much to handle, way too much. We were going weekly, and it got to the point where I was so exhausted and so tired that on my last appointment, which ended up being my last appointment, I told my mom and my sister and my dad, we were all there together, this is it. Whether or not she has a brain tumor, I'm having the baby. So it's the last appointment. I tell him, like, I'm done. I don't want to keep coming back here. I'm stressing myself out. If she doesn't have a brain tumor, I'm probably giving her one because of all the stress. And before we started the appointment, the doctor, I said, so what if she does? And she said, you can do a late term abortion, and we'd have to surgically take the baby out. I'm like, I can feel her, like she moves and she kicks and she turns, and my stomach is big, and it was just like all these emotions, and I broke down and I just sobbed in the seat. And my sister went off, and she went off on the doctor because it was like, oh, just get rid of it. And after everything that I had gone through, that wasn't an option. And I got up and I was refusing to do any more tests. I was refusing to do another ultrasound. I was so over it. She said, let's just do this last one. So they finally calmed me down. We did it. She looks at me and she goes, she doesn't have one. That was it. I don't know if I was more upset or happy or what. Of course, I was, happy that, of course, Ryder doesn't have a brain tumor. But we had done this for weeks, and I was just exhausted. I was so relieved that she did not have a brain tumor. And I really felt like after all of that, like God had to be preparing me for something. Like you were testing me and like making me strong for something. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that there was something coming and I could feel it. And yeah, but that was a good part of my pregnancy that I like to put behind me. After that, it was just more of like preparing for Rye and having the baby shower, which was, big. If you know my family, you know we can't ever do anything small when it comes to events. So my baby shower was a big thing for everyone, and I was happy. I was really, really happy. And I had honestly put the whole dad conversation behind me, and I was preparing to put it behind me forever and to raise Ryder by myself. And I was okay with that, but I would hurt for her because I love my dad and I love my stepdad, and I couldn't imagine her not having those relationships. So I hurt for her when I didn't think that she was gonna have a dad in her life. And I felt like I was the one to blame for it. And I beat myself up about it. So I had the baby, had Rye. And I brought her home. And she was perfect. She was so freaking perfect. I was so in love. And we got the call that she had a genetic condition. That was the day after, and I had to bring her back to the hospital. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But that was the next hurdle. When she was 6 months, her doctors were like, I don't know what's the backstory, but this is a genetic condition. You need to get the dad in this office. And that led to the next chapter of our lives. So that is how I found out that I was pregnant, a little bit about my pregnancy. And I think that at this point in my life I share this because I know that I'm not alone. I know that there's probably some people going through this right now at this very moment, and you feel alone. You feel ashamed, you feel hurt, you're unsure of the future, and I just want you to know that you're okay. You're not a bad person. And you have to stay positive and look at the positives. And when you get down on yourself and when you feel really, really bad, you just have to focus on this beautiful baby that you're making. And That's what I had to focus on when I was pregnant. I had to focus on the baby. I couldn't focus on anything else but the baby. And I was okay. And it's hard. It's not an easy thing to go through. It's not easy to talk about. I hate talking about it sometimes because I still can't believe that that's my story. But going through a pregnancy alone is something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. That's a pain that never goes away, that will never be easy to do. So, all that said, you guys should be smart and make smart decisions and smart choices and use contraception. And hopefully, you know, with me talking about it, you learn something or relate, or I don't know, maybe this was pointless and maybe me talking about it just helps me in my own personal therapy. Not really sure. But that's our story. I have a ton of ultrasounds, pictures from when I was pregnant and from just the time when they did think that Ryder had a brain tumor. So I'm gonna lay them out and I'll show you guys. If you like this video, then I will do other ones like this. I can do one explaining my labor and delivery, or, you know, Corey meeting Ryder for the first time. I can just start back talking from after the